Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3828 BN. Today's date is January 28th, 2026, and the title of the episode is, Did Ilhan Omar stage an event? D's say the quiet part out loud? FBI raids Georgia elections. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen something and instantly know it's going to turn heads? That's exactly what happened when I saw these Trump Never Surrender gold sneakers. These aren't subtle. They're not supposed to be. Gold finish, red, white, blue details, Never Surrender right on the shoe. You put these on, people notice, period. What surprised me most? They're actually comfortable, solid, lightweight, and wearable. Not just something you buy and leave in the box. These are made to be worn and seen. And the message hits, Never Surrender, isn't just branding, it's an attitude. Whether you're out running errands or showing up somewhere and you want to make a statement, these do exactly that without saying a word. They're also a killer gift. If you got a Trump supporter, a collector, or someone who likes bold, unapologetic style, this is a win. They're unique, they're different, they're just awesome. One more thing that matters. These are a limited run, numbered pairs. Once they're gone, they're gone. If you want to grab a pair, our loyal audience will get a 15% discount while inventories last. Go to the megaoffers.com/X22. That's the megaoffers.com/X22. And if you'd rather order by phone or talk to someone directly, you can call 855-550-AGA and be sure to use my code for even more savings when you call. Again, that number is 855-550-6242 or 855-550-MAGA. And don't forget to use promo code X22. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech, fake news, the puppet masters. You could see that Trump now is forcing the installed politicians across the globe, especially in the EU. He's forcing them to show everyone their true colors. They're all running to China. They're all making deals with China. And I do believe in the end, you could see where all of this was supposed to head. It was supposed to head to China. And what that means is that in the end, Europe, America, Australia, and the rest, they were going to be nothing. There was going to be no manufacturing. It was going to be powered by windmills and solar power, and everything was going to be located in China. And this is why you could see Starmer going down to China. You see the EU trying to figure out what they should do at this point in time. And they're all trapped in this entire thing. But I do believe what Trump is doing right now, he's letting the world see where their allegiance is. And I think people are going to start to see that these so-called allies are really not our allies. And I'm not talking about the people of these countries. I'm talking about the installed politicians. Because, again, they're not in line with the United States. They're in line with the deep state players. That's what people are going to see. And you can see as we get closer and closer to the midterms, we're starting to see a very, very similar trend right now, because what's happening? You're starting to see Hollywood all of a sudden come out and talk about ICE. They're also talking about how MAGA and Trump, how they're the Gestapo and Trump is Hitler, and how we're the Nazis, and how they're going to stop all of us. You see a lot of the Hollywood people come out and say, we need to win the midterms so we can put all these people into prison. Basically, what you're seeing is you're saying the same exact thing that happened in 2020. The only difference is it's not COVID. So now they have the same Hollywood people. Remember going back in time, they came out there telling you to get your vaccine, stay inside. We're going to show you how to wash your hands because you're stupid. You don't know how to wash your hands. They're doing the same exact thing because they're prepping everything for the midterms. And actually, when you saw COVID, when did it begin? It began in February. We're very, very close to that. So it's going to build as we go through this year. That is what you're experiencing, because what are they planning to do? They're planning to create as much chaos as possible in the blue states where you can't have an election. And they're hoping that Trump invokes the Insurrection Act so they can actually blame it on him. That's what they're really trying to say. And what's very interesting is that Ilhan Omar out in Minnesota, because what are we seeing out in Minnesota? We're seeing everything that they've been doing is being exposed. All their criminality, all their fraud, their fake companies, everything is being exposed right now. And they're continually trying to make distractions. It is not working whatsoever. Ilhan Omar, it looks like she was giving a speech at a town hall meeting. Now, remember, when she has these town hall meetings, there are metal detectors, there are searches. It's pretty darn secure. And this individual came in with a syringe. They found out it was filled with apple cider vinegar. And this person squirted it on Ilhan Omar. Now, the question is, nobody knew what this was. Nobody knew what was in the syringe. This could have been a virus. This could have been a deadly poison. This could have been any of those things. So if you don't know what it is, wouldn't you call a doctor? Wouldn't you call the hazmat crew? Wouldn't you either lock down the room because you think maybe it's a virus, or tell everyone to evacuate? Wouldn't you do any of these things because you don't know what the liquid is? Someone just came out of the audience, they squirted you, and you have no idea what it is. Do you continue with your speech saying, okay, you know what? I'll just let that sit on my skin, on my clothing. No big deal. Or would you say, holy crap, what's on me? I don't know. I can't continue the speech. I have no idea. Everyone should either go home or everyone should be isolated in other rooms until the hazmat team arrives. We got to find out what this is. Is this something deadly? Is this a virus? Is this, smallpox? We don't know what it is. But nobody reacted like that, which is kind of odd, don't you think? She went on with her speech. They took him away. No big deal. Something is wrong. So the question is that event staged? I mean, the only reason you would continue is you knew what the liquid was then. And it looks like, and people are reporting that it looks like she looked up and gave the individual a nod. So that's very, very interesting. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. But the other thing that's very interesting is we can see the D's now. They're coming out and they're saying the quiet part out loud. And they're letting everyone know that Trump better not bring ICE to the polling centers when we have the elections. Why would ICE have to be at the polling center? That doesn't make any sense. Does it? Because to vote, don't you have to be a U.S. citizen? Or are they already preparing the narrative for what is coming? I do believe that's exactly what they're doing right now. They're preparing the narrative for what is coming because they know they're going to be sending Antifa, the illegals, criminals, all to the polling areas to try to keep people away from the polling areas. And if the illegals and Antifa are there, who else is going to show up? Oh, that's right, ICE. So now you understand why they're talking about ICE. But I do believe along the way, throughout this year, Trump is going to be exposing the rigged election in 2020. And Trump has been gathering this evidence for a very long time. He has the evidence of foreign countries that are involved in manipulating the elections. He has the evidence of domestic individuals manipulating the elections in this country. And everyone realizes on how they did it. They did it with the machines. They did it with the mail-ins. They did it with the illegals. They did it with the Social Security numbers. They did it with all of this to create the illusion that these are fair, free elections. But in reality, it was one gigantic cheating system. And this is how you know they're in trouble. I'm talking about the deep state players, because they wouldn't be doing all of this right now if they had the upper hand. You only fight back like this if you don't have the upper hand. Now, people are going to say, well, yeah, I saw them do this in 2020, but they won the elections. No, Trump allowed them to win. Trump wanted Biden and Obama in the driver's seat because part of the plan was to wake the rest of the country up. Remember, he's building a counterinsurgency. The counterinsurgency is the people with the president and the military. But the big part of it is the people. If you don't have the people, you can't do anything in this country. It's impossible. I mean, the deep state players, the Ds, they're finding that out right now. They don't have the country. They can't do much. They can't sway the people into protesting. Do you see 5 million people out there in Minnesota saying, let's get ICE? No. You see what, 20, 25 people at the most? They don't have the people anymore. So once again, during 2020, Trump wanted them to take it to the extreme. He wanted them to use the mail-ins. He wanted them to use the machines because it makes it a lot easier to catch them in the act. Remember, this is one gigantic sting operation. And this is why Trump is now saying he has a truckload of evidence. Where do you think he got the evidence from? And why did he save it until now? Because he understands that the midterms are one of the most important elections right now. You see, in 2024, the deep state players knew that the presidential election, it's important, but not as important as the midterms. Now, people are saying, well, what do you mean by that? I mean, look what Trump is doing. He's reversing everything that they're doing right now. They know that the House and Senate, they make the laws. They can impeach. They can nominate. They can do all of these things. So they let Trump and they let the system go, and they allowed the people to override their cheating system because they knew that if they tried to cheat, it wouldn't look good. The people wouldn't believe it. So that wasn't their battle. Their battle right now has always been the midterms. They shifted gears because think about it. And Trump has said this many, many times before. If they win the elections in the midterms, the House and the Senate, will they reverse everything that has been done right now? Absolutely. Will they then introduce new laws that goes against the Constitution, that goes against everything that President Trump has been doing? Will President Trump be able to finish the plan of taking back the country? Will they impeach him in the end? The answer to all those questions is yes. This is why they waited. This is why this year you're seeing them push the riots, because what they're doing right now is they're pushing all of this up to the midterms. Now, it might not just be the riots. They might add in other things. Think about what they did in 2020. Did they just have riots? Or did they have COVID? So if they had COVID and the riots, right now all we're seeing is the riots. Do you think they'll add in something else during this time? Will there be a cyber attack? Will there be blackouts before the election? Maybe, maybe not. But you know they're going to do something. And actually, if we go back in time, I think it's about 4 years now, maybe a little bit longer, where the World Economic Forum is that the next event that they see coming is a cyber attack. Now, think about what Trump is doing with the economy. Trump right now with the economy, he is now taking control of the central bank system. He's building a parallel economic system. That's what the tariff system is, the gold card system, the energy sales system, the technology sales system. He's building a machine that is bringing in income from the outside to compete with a debt-based system that we borrow from. And you can't compete with a machine that is bringing in income from the outside because there's no interest attached and we don't have to pay it back, compared to the Federal Reserve, which is a loan shark system, which loans us the money with interest attached. We have to pay it back, and more of that currency that's put into circulation, the value of the currency declines. So it's worth less and less and less. With the tariff system, you're bringing in currency, already existing currency. You don't see inflation. It doesn't devalue the currency. Plus, you're bringing in external funds into this country. We don't have to pay it back. And you don't have to take the money internally from the people of this country to pay back that money. So put all of this together. What do you think the deep state players, the central bankers, are going to do? Yes, they're going to try to pull out every single stop this year to try to stop we the people from winning the midterms. Trump knows the playbook. We know that this is the path that the deep state players are on. He already has countermeasures in place. He's already building the counterinsurgency. And in the end, the people will be with Trump. If you look back to 2020, Trump actually won the election. Actually, it's going to be shown that he won the election, because when all the evidence comes out about the election fraud, the election rigging, people are going to start to realize that Biden never won that election. The only reason he won is because they cheated. Actually, they overthrew the United States government and had an insurrection against a sitting president of the United States, which was President Trump, on January 6th. This is why they removed his tweet, because he told the deep state players to stop it, go home peacefully and patriotically. They didn't listen. That was an insurrection right there. And you can see the FBI right now, they have raided the Georgia elections. So everything is about to change. And Trump already has countermeasures in place to go up against the deep state with everything that they're trying to do. And I do believe he's going to be building the case throughout this year and forcing the rhinos in the Senate to do what? To either pass the SAVE Act or end the filibuster, which I do believe would be the best thing. This way you can then just pass the SAVE Act and everything else that Trump needs right now before the midterms even come up. And what does that mean? That means the D's have no chance in winning the election. If the filibuster is removed and we pass the SAVE Act, or the SAVE Act is passed, the D's will never be able to win the election because the SAVE Act says there are no mail-in ballots whatsoever. Everyone must go to the polling centers. Everyone must show their ID. It will be, you'll vote with no machines. There will be only paper ballots, and we will count all the votes in one day. There'll be no mail-in ballots coming in after. So at midnight, that is the end of it all. The D's, since they don't have the people, how are they going to win the election? They don't have their cheating system either. It will be completely and utterly impossible. So if that scenario should occur, what do you think the D's are going to do? I think they're going to do it no matter what. They're going to have riots, and I do believe, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some type of cyber attack throughout the world, just like they unleashed COVID throughout the world. Now, are they going to have a cyber attack right now? No, it wouldn't make sense. I think if they're going to do it, I'm not saying they are, but as this all plays out, if they're going to try to do something, they're going to do it very, very close to the midterms. Because you can see everything now is building up. Now, I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they know this. They know what's happening. They know the playbooks. This is why Trump is building the counterinsurgency. This is why he's going to show the people the truth every step of the way. And once the people see it, they're not going to be able to forget it, which means he will have the control in the end. And he will have the people on his side to do what needs to be done. You see, going back to 2020, Trump didn't bring in the military and remove Biden because, once again, it would look like a coup. The entire country was not with him at that time. Yes, he had a lot of votes, not enough to override the rigged system, but a lot of votes. In a normal election, he would have won hands down, which he actually did because they cheated. But again, he didn't have the country on his side to go in and remove the deep state players. So that's why there was no military action at that time. This time around, if you look at the D's, they're now coming on board slowly but surely. And I'm not talking about the far left D's out there. I'm talking about the moderate D's, the independents. Every step of the way, they're coming on board with Trump. And you can see the poll numbers are reflecting this. And as it gets worse and worse, you're going to see more of them on the side of Trump. Actually, if you look at what Trump has done out in Minnesota, he's pretty much set up Waltz and Frey out there. And you can see already the people now are siding with Trump, and Antifa, they are now going against Waltz and Frey. And it looks like the mayor is already starting or beginning to basically go back on any type of an agreement, which we knew in the end that was going to happen. But this is why Trump is doing it, because he wants the people to see that they're the ones who decided we're going to fight every step of the way and have riots. They're the ones who are creating it. They're the ones who are causing it. And they're the ones who are allowing it to happen. Because if you look at every other state, we do not have this problem. We only have the problem in the criminal states where they've been laundering money. And it looks like it's mostly the sanctuary cities and states. But in the end, you could see that once everything's exposed, the deep state, the central bankers, they are screwed. Now, we're going to be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, you could see across the globe right now, Europe is heading in a completely and utterly different direction. And when you look at Spain, the socialist government has now moved to legalize up to 500,000 illegal migrants in a sweeping decree. So the prime minister out there is allowing this to be done. And this is going to destroy Spain. And actually, you could see out in France, out in Germany, out in the UK, out in New Zealand, out in Australia, you could see they're all heading down this path Because again, this has been done artificially. You have to remember the illegals that are coming into these countries and into the United States, a lot of Muslim, a lot of terrorists, a lot of drug traffickers, a lot of child traffickers. This was all done artificially. This is not a naturally occurring thing. You have to remember, Soros and team, and with the help of the installed leaders, they were able to orchestrate this, and they were able to bring this in. So it was planned, it was orchestrated. It's not grassroots. So if they can bring the people in artificially, we can remove them the same exact way. And this is what's going to this is what's happening in this country right now, and it's going to ramp up. So when people say, "Oh my God, look at the infiltration! Oh my, it's terrible," it can be cleaned up very, very easily because again, this was artificially done.